from different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness.
What's up, guys? How's your week been?
I think it was pretty good. Yeah. What about all of you? I was just talking to them. This is one of those things where I wasn't planning to share this on the podcast, but now I'm going to share it on the podcast. So I accidentally fell and I landed on my hands and knees, and I got like a really gnarly kind of cut on my hand. And basically, I think I know what to do now to prevent like further pain, and it'll heal properly and all that stuff. But the reason why I brought this up to Beth and Jessica is Jessica got me a Christmas gift, Jessica and Amber. And one of them happened to be this stuff called bag balm. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do about this cut? I want to moisturize my hands. How am I going to do that? And it turns out that bag balm can be used on cuts. Like, it's not going to cause a problem. There's actually an antiseptic in bag balm. So it's just like generally beneficial, like not only for cuts and just like general moisturizing of hands and skin, but you could also use it on your lips. I was just amazed. So I'm like, man, I'm all set. I have the bag balm. If Jessica and Amber hadn't got me that gift, then I don't know what I'd be doing. I just have like dry hands and have problems basically. So, but outside of that though, so I'm on the mend there. And all is well in that regard, I would say, because I feel optimistic about it. But besides that, though, let's see. I went to a Super Bowl party on Sunday with some friends that I usually go to dinner with on Tuesday nights, and I had a good time. I guess it was like a landslide victory for I think it was, what was it? Yeah, it was the Eagles. Yeah. And so it wasn't extremely entertaining. There were other Super Bowls where it was more contested, so that it kind of was a little more heated and kind of ends up a little bit more interesting. But I know that both of those teams worked really hard, so that's great that they were both in the Super Bowl. And kudos to the Eagles for winning that. So that's nice. But when I was at the Super Bowl party, I went overboard and I ate way too many brownies. So I had pizza and bread. Well, like ordinarily when we do these Super Bowl parties, one of my friends, he ends up like cooking a steak, but this time he was just too busy. So we ended up ordering pizza. So I ended up having pizza and brownies. And I was going to have more pizza and less brownies, but then the brownies were ready and they were warm. So I ended up eating a lot of brownies because I still had an appetite. And yeah, so I could not eat like good calories, as you could say. I had bad calories. So today I was like, oh my gosh, I do not feel well for like the first half of the day. But I feel fine now. I'm all good. But the good thing is that experience where I had the cookies and I had the toothache, I learned a lot from that. So I studied some of Dr. Ellie Phillips's content, like the functional dentist that I've been following with the complete mouth care system and stuff like that. And one of the things, besides using xylitol mints, the Zellies that I use, one key thing that you can help toothaches is to not drink or eat anything for lengthy periods of time. So instead of sipping water throughout the day, it actually helps with like just your general like dental health to not consume anything and just let your saliva like hang out in your mouth, basically. So I did have a little bit of pain in my mouth for like maybe an hour and a half or something like that, 2 hours after eating all those brownies. But then it all went away because I didn't consume anything, no liquids, no food, or so. Yeah. So so I guess I'm just like a person that can't control his or herself because of desserts. It's just they taste so amazing. So it's not just cookies. That means I can eat cookies, I can eat brownies, but I need to be controlled. So so besides that, I filled up my update with brownies. That's cool. But I was gonna mention that I finished the book Don't Believe Everything You Think, and it's such an incredible book. I'm so happy that I started reading it, and it's just like allowed me to really manage my stress so much better. And like it actually has a really like helpful section on intuition, like following your intuition when you're not thinking. And so I think that was like the final piece that I needed to really like go full throttle, so to speak, on being able to not think and go about my life in a really peaceful manner. So I highly recommend the book. Don't Believe Everything You Think. It's kind of like the Power of Now and Radical Intuition, but it's really concise, and it's just got a really unique, helpful perspective. So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what I got.
That's wonderful, Tim. Man, what a journey you've been on.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Beth, did you watch the Super Bowl at all?
Okay, so I did not watch the Super Bowl.
That's okay.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. No, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I was invited to go to a Super Bowl party, but my friend who used to live in California, who was one of my first friends that I met when I first moved out here almost 18 years ago. They
OG.
What? Yeah.
You're OG. Yeah.
Yes. Well, a few years back, she and her family moved to Florida, and that's where they remain. But we were pregnant with our youngest kids at the same time. So I was pregnant with Jonah, and then she was pregnant with her kid at the same time. And I don't know how this happened, but both of our kids her son turned 16 on the 8th, and then Jonah will turn 16 April 1st. So what he wanted to do for his 16th birthday was come to California and go to Magic Mountain with my boys. So I spent 4 days in Santa Clarita just hanging out with them. We didn't we didn't go to Magic Mountain. We let the kids just go on their own, which I think was fun for them. All of this to say, I was actually kind of proud of myself because I was invited to the party by Jody, and she approached me when I went to church yesterday to ask me about the party. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to go to the party. I had a really long weekend and blah, blah, blah. And then she tried to fix it. So like, okay, well, what if your family stays home and then you just come? And I was like, no, I need to go in my cocoon where I just turn into goo for a little bit and take care of myself and just not be around people. And she said, okay, and she understood. And usually when I tell people that I can't do something or if I'm canceling plans, I usually feel really, really guilty. But this time I didn't feel guilty at all because I knew that it was what I needed at the time. And so those boundaries are working.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful. I love how Jody was respectful in response.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not like she would have been any other way.
And if she was like, how dare you? I would be like, I just need some time by myself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I spent the time working on a little Lego set that I had purchased from Michael's, because they sell Legos at Michael's now, and they're on display right when you walk in. It's fine. But so I built one of the sets, and then I watched a movie with Julia Louis-Dreyfus called You Hurt My Feelings. And I think that movie hurt my feelings on her behalf. I didn't like it. It did not resolve in any way that was satisfying. And I think it just bummed me out even more than I already was. So, one star, do not recommend unless you like getting your feelings hurt. I don't. I hurt my feelings every day. I don't need a movie to. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
Watch at your own risk. And also, her husband was a therapist, and he was a terrible therapist.
Yes.
And I didn't think I would be spending all of my time talking about how a movie called You Hurt My Feelings hurt my feelings. But here we are. My favorite part about the movie was one of the couples in the movie that the husband had as his clients was David Cross and Amber Tamblyn, and they're married in real life. They were playing Jonathan and Carolyn, but that was very satisfying to me, like how all of that ended up. So that's one good thing about the movie, but otherwise, half a star. Oh, one more thing. I started listening to a new podcast called Mall Walkin' with Matt Gorley and Mark McConville, and all they do is walk through the mall and talk about it. And then they rate it at the end. It's malls in Southern California, and their rating system is stores instead of stars. It's 5 stores. And you can rate something a kiosk, which is half a store, or a massage chair. They sit in the massage chairs when they're done walking through the mall, and then talk about the mall. And the massage chair is a 4th of a star. And
wow.
Amazing. What a concept.
It's somebody in the Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend Facebook group recommended it to me. And he was like, I can't remember, like he said, it's not for everyone. And I was like, I'm a really easy laugh, so I'm sure I'll love it so much. And I do. I love it so much. So.
That's almost as good as the concept that we randomly talked about, Beth. Tim, I don't think we filled you in on this, because I think it's going to end up being after my maternity leave where we even consider doing this. But we were thinking how funny it would be is if we all went to IKEA together and sat in the food court and recorded our podcast there.
Wow. Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Now it's like, do we walk around and then we rate it as like 5 rooms?
They have to be like fun IKEA words.
I know. I can't even like think of a word because they're all
We talked about this before I started listening to that podcast too. So that's funny.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways.
What's up with you, Jessica?
Yeah. What's happening, Jessica?
Oh, not much, guys. I think I probably could have broken a world record for the most Kleenexes used in a short amount of time. Which the body is amazing how much stuff comes out of it, like from your nose.
A miracle.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Anyways, I've been very impressed lately with that. But thank you to tissue paper, I think is the proper word, not Kleenex, because Kleenex is a brand. But they've been my friend these past few weeks. But anyways, so that's been going on. I shared a little farm story earlier, but I will not share this because it's a bit I don't even know how to aggressive. What is it?
Settling, but it's also just nature. So
right.
The blanks where you want.
So if you want to hear a really gross story, you're welcome to come up to me and ask me, hey, what was that farm story? And I'll tell you.
But also, don't say we didn't warn you.
Yeah, we're warning you now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I proceeded to tell like a similar kind of gross story. So if you want to approach me and hear my story, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
And I just fell over like a fainting goat because I didn't know what else to do.
Right. Yeah, that's understandable. Truly.
Other than that, we did have we're doing 2-week appointments now because I'm officially 33 weeks pregnant.
Ooh.
So my next appointment is on February 18th, I think. Yeah. And but the last time that we had a check-in, the positioning of the baby was like, I was very concerned. My internal concern meter was high. But the baby was positioned in frank breech a while ago, which if you ever are considering starting a family and you have the privilege of being able to house a young child in your womb and go through that pregnancy process, frank breech is not a good place for a child to be. It's basically like it's sitting down with its feet down and its head is just like up. So it's like I'm walking around and there's like a little baby just facing out going, hello. The baby needs to be head down. So the last appointment we had, she was like, I think everything has been flipped. I think we've got a head down. Everything's looking good.
Oh, good.
The baby's getting lower. I feel it. We're getting some bladder punches, which is whoa.
Can be problematic.
Can be problematic, yes. But I can definitely tell that the baby's getting bigger. I did not ask for Beth's consent, but I grabbed her hand on Sunday because I felt the baby start to move and I was like, oh my gosh, give me your hand. And I grabbed it and I was going to have her feel the baby moving and then the baby decided to go somewhere else. But anyway.
I just know don't touch pregnant ladies' bellies without asking. I just didn't know the pregnant lady could grab my hand without asking. The place on your belly. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I thought it was so funny because I'm always like, boundaries, physical boundaries. Dude. It just is,
yeah. I just think it's so cool. I'm like, I never got to experience, like, nobody ever really is like, hey, come feel this, Yeah. I think it's so cool. And I'm like,
you can't describe what it feels like from the inside. It's like weird.
It's weird. And it's like, you're just a human fishbowl is basically, and you've got this thing swimming around inside you.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm never going to think of fishbowls the same way again.
The baby thinks you're a punching bag.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Anyways, but that's about it. Like that's, pretty much my updates are, anyway.
Well, that's a great update, Jessica.
Yeah.
Like the first few weeks go so slowly, but then the last few months are like they're going so fast, but also like not fast enough.
It feels like, how did we get to 33 weeks?
Yeah.
But I also feel like, has it been 10 years?
Yes. No.
Because you think about it. So I'm, 8 months in and approaching almost my 9th. And I was telling Amber this, I was like, imagine not being able to do certain things for that long. Like it's literally, you have to establish, it's like having Lent, I think.
For 9 months.
For 9 months, because you're like, oh, you're going to have to give up all of these things.
Wow.
You know?
That's fascinating.
Like, so I think mentally, that's kind of been the biggest thing is like, you know, sometimes it'd be nice to have Jimmy John's. Sometimes it'd be nice to have sushi.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'd be nice to be able to get out of bed normally instead of like rolling, like little, you know, it's interesting, but
yeah. That's good to know. And now I won't think of Lent the same way again either. Like, okay, so I guess for me to practice Lent, it's like a short-term pregnancy.
Okay, says the guy who gave up caffeine halfway through Lent and is still off caffeine.
That's true, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's kind of like the 9 months Lent for me. Oh, my gosh.
That's funny. Well, speaking of not Lent, we've got some things coming up at the church that I would like to fill you guys in on. So Pastor Jim mentioned on Sunday, lunch church was bumped a week because of the Super Bowl, which the Eagles destroyed the Chiefs. Ooh, it was incredible.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that I did watch the halftime show today with my family, and it was amazing. I loved it so much.
Yeah. I think Kendrick Lamar is such an incredible lyricist.
Yes, he is.
Oh my God. Yeah. That was one thing that I when he had his first album come out, I was listening to his lyrics and I was like, man, he's really good with wordplay. Like,
wow.
Anyways,
how does people just do? But they're a little more.
A little bit.
Not child.
Anyways, so if you ever just like read what his lyrics say, I mean, it's incredible, and plus, I love the production of like how he puts together his music. It's really, really cool. Which is also what happens at Lunch Church, which will be happening on February 16th at Irene's Burger Cafe. Who knows? Kendrick Lamar could show up.
I think that he's going to try to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you don't know, they actually might have burgers at this place.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And then on February 23rd, it's New Member Sunday. So if you have taken the PUMC 101 and you officially would like to proclaim your awesomeness as a new member of PUMC, this is your chance to be part of New Member Sunday. I did overhear Pastor Jim talk with a few people who they weren't going to be around that week. So just know that if you are wanting to become a new member, connect with Pastor Jim and maybe email the church office and see what Sunday could work for you. And then we have a missions meeting between services on March 2nd. On March 9th, Lenten Messy Church, an escape room from 4 p.m. So basically, bring a sleeping bag because if you can't escape, you might have to sleep at the church.
Oh, okay.
Don't move around too much because the movement will set off the alarm. You're going to have to stay in there.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like a good sleepover, but maybe it's an alarming sleepover.
It is alarming. And then on March 13th, it's the senior luncheon. And then on March 15th, the Alpha course begins. And you can sign up on the app. The Alpha course on that Saturday is from 12:30 to 2:30. Guys, it's really crazy to think that that's March 15th, and that's like literally a couple of weeks from my delivery. My due date.
Whoa.
Anyways, it's like when you look at the expiration date of things and you're like, oh my gosh, my birthday will have passed by then. Or anyways, this is crazy. It's coming up really fast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, I need to put the car. We need to put the car seats in the car.
Yeah.
That's the updates, though, for PUMC, other than Beth's Boundaries, which is happening on Tuesdays. So,
yeah.
Oh, speaking of boundaries, I didn't get a chance to mention this. I was listening to the sermon on my way home from work, and a friend called me while I was listening to the sermon, and I picked it up. I was respectful that he called me, and I said, "Hey, I'm kind of busy right now. Maybe I can call you tomorrow." And he totally just respected me on that. And I said, "Have a good evening." And, it's just, we have a peaceful, nice correspondence now. I didn't ghost him or anything. And I flexed my boundaries. Didn't even have to explain myself. I just said, I'm kind of busy. So I thought I would mention that I had a boundary expedition as well.
That's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And you never heard from them again.
Dum, dum, dum.
Oh, I'll
Speaking
give
of-
Tim boundaries. Okay.
Speaking of some sort of jingle, Methodist moment, Methodist moment.
All right.
So I didn't actually have a Methodist moment planned today. So I started panicking and I was just like, oh no, what do we do? Maybe somebody left us an email. And so I started looking in our Methodists to the Madness email, and I've only been looking at the primary emails. I haven't been looking at the social emails.
What?
Oh wow, we have social emails?
Yeah. Jessica, since you started uploading our podcast to YouTube, we have 3 subscribers, or 3 or 4 subscribers that have subscribed to our podcast.
Oh, good.
YouTube. One of them started August 27th, 2024.
Uh-huh.
And commented 2 comments. And they both, it's the gospel according to Dr. Seuss, how the Grinch stole Christmas. And they just wrote, I'm a Grinch. So that was August 27th, 2024. Oh no, wait. Are they going to be mad that we've shouted them out on YouTube?
No, because we don't know who it is.
But this one has a name. I won't say the name, but
right.
We have another person subscribed to us. And
public information, it's out there.
Well, it's her first and last name, so I don't want to say it.
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I will read this guy's name because it's an @ and it's @it's J Sykes. And
nice.
And he commented on our Imperfectly You, the Power of Love podcast and said, sounds amazing. Had to sub after that. I also have a small Christian channel dedicated to helping others by leading them to God.
Oh, cool.
That's a nice.
I like that.
It's Jay Sykes.
Wonderful.
Pleasure to know you. So that's all I have for
that's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Beth. I didn't realize that we had that social presence going along there. That's very good. I have something that is totally something I just thought to share. I was thinking back to our what was it? The Palm Sunday Methodist to the Madness edition. And how much fun I had doing that with the 2 of you, with all the different voices and stuff like that.
When's Palm Sunday?
Yeah, when is Palm Sunday?
Well, in case you were wondering, Palm Sunday for the year of 2025.
We're looking at our records.
Takes place on Sunday, April 13th.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's coming up. Very nice.
So when do you get back from maternity leave? That's the episode we're going to record in IKEA.
That's funny. I don't know because I think I need to really sit down and figure out realistically what that looks like. And I'll speak with you guys offline.
Yeah, we don't have to figure this out now.
Yeah. Unless we want to spend, maybe our listeners can listen to us try to figure it out for the next hour. Yeah. And then, by the end of the episode, we'll start talking about sermon feedback.
I have something else. Do we have an update on our trademark fundraiser?
Oh, I've completely just abandoned that project because life is really hard. But
we're still almost there.
I think I'm gonna have good news for you next week. So
yeah. For the record, I won't speak about who we're kind of, what is it, paying attention to, but the people that we originally started this process of are looking into getting a trademark, they have seemed to stop. They haven't been recording. It's been maybe I think 3 months now, and they haven't released any recording. But we still want to trademark our podcast because you never know. And our podcast is so important, and we're so happy that those of you who are listening are still listening, and we're just happy to be here, just sharing our thoughts and feelings about all this stuff, whether it's our check-ins or sermon feedback or prayers, you name it. So we're just happy to be here. So
I'm just glad anyone's listening at all.
Right.
I was hoping that the message I sent those people got across.
Oh, is that the reason?
Is it a message or a threat?
It depends on, forgiveness. Grace. Anyway, no.
Whether or not.
I think Pastor Jim had a sermon on anger, right? How it can be used as an opportunity.
Right.
I watched that one, but it made me so angry I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
Kidding.
No. Well, that's interesting that they did stop. But yes, like Tim said, we still want to trademark so that way no one else can make us.
Ain't nobody gonna bring us down.
So now I'm just full of ideas. I thought I would share 2 verses from Matthew if the two of you are interested in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give it a whirl.
I just legitimately, I just opened up the Bible, and I think maybe even Pastor Jim said this, that's something you can do for scripture journaling or just a spiritual practice. Just open up the Bible and find a verse that stands out to you. So I found one, and that's Matthew chapter 13, verses 31 through 32. This is the New Revised Standard Version Updated Edition. He put before them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that someone took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all the seeds, but when it has grown, it is the greatest of shrubs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches. Oh, I think that's beautiful.
I like that.
That's awesome.
That's nice. So, what do you like about that verse, Tim?
I think what stood out to me is the mustard seed being in reference to the kingdom of heaven. I was kind of thinking about when Jesus was talking about faith being like a grain of mustard seed. And so I really like how he related to mustard seed to the kingdom of heaven as well. And just the analysis of the seed becoming the greatest of shrubs and becomes a tree. I think that's so wonderful. That's awesome. And I think it really describes what the kingdom of heaven is like. Yeah. That's awesome.
I like to think of my faith like the grain of mustard powder.
Oh,
I was going to say like a mushroom seed.
I know, I almost said mushroom.
Mushroom.
And people will walk around and go, Beth, he's a fun guy.
Well, actually, Hey, for the record, Mario, when he eats a mushroom, he becomes really big. So with the that's like your faith, the mushroom,
Oh
your
yeah.
faith becomes really big.
With a little mushroom, it makes your faith big. We did it. All right. Stay Maddie Methodist. See you next time. We're done.
That's a new merch idea.
Oh, wow.
Said. You can do a shirt that has a mushroom on it and it could say Jesus. Heard he was a fun guy.
You know what? You know what Jesus being a fun guy reminds me of, though? It reminds me of the sweater that Pastor Jim likes to wear around Christmas time with and Santa, and they're like, they've got their arms around each other, and one of them's holding eggnog, like they're buddies,
right?
Well, that's wonderful. Our faith brings us into all sorts of new territory, and we can look at how our faith is growing. Doesn't have to be about mustard seed, but we're reminded of how our faith does become larger and more beautiful as time goes on, and we have our spiritual insights. So
yeah, that's really nice, Tim. Yeah. Very nice.
Thanks.
Let's dive into TORAH.
Exodus.
Where we focused on Exodus chapter 2, verses 1 through 10 this past Sunday. Again, this is a 5-week sermon series on the first 5 books of the Old Testament that we're going through. And so this past Sunday, a few things that Pastor Jim shared in terms of Exodus, which I thought were super interesting.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
That there are more than 280 allusions to or quotations from the book of Exodus in the New Testament.
Wow.
That's so many. And so he mentioned that they occur in almost every book of the New Testament, but especially in the Gospels, Acts, Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Hebrews, and Revelation. Almost every chapter in Exodus is represented, which I thought that was pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. But in the end, the book of Exodus has had a powerful and widespread impact on all humanity.
Mm-hmm.
What was mentioned. So, but what did you guys think? I mean, I know there's a lot that's shared, but same with what we talked about last week with Genesis, how it was like a new perspective on the Old Testament book. What did you guys think?
Yeah, so what stood out to me is I really appreciated that Pastor Jim kind of like brought forward the overview on like Exodus in general. And it kind of reminds me of how like he put Genesis together in a similar kind of way, like presenting it and then bringing forth like intrigue about like what makes in this case Exodus so special. And kind of speaking about the series as a whole, I actually did start reading Genesis. I'm on like chapter 7 now, and I think it's a beautiful book. And I didn't realize how like just awesome like everything is described, and I just love like seeing all that detail regarding like the stories that I like understood when I was growing up, and like as an adult, like faithful Christian, it's just like really it's really encouraging. I just want to keep like going through Genesis, and now like I have the overview for Exodus now. I'm looking forward to seeing that turning point from like the Joseph story, and then like 400 years later everything changes. There's a new Pharaoh, and like the Israelites are just like tasked like over and over to the point that it becomes extremely hazardous. And then Moses comes into the picture. And I think it's really interesting also that Jesus is the new Moses, and just all the different things, all the allusions associated with Exodus. Like, but I think we're all kind of familiar with some of them, but it's just a good reminder for me, like how Jesus is the Passover lamb, and how we're redeemed, kind of like in the Exodus story, where the people that were the Israelites, they had the insight from God that they could put the blood on the doors from the lamb, and then the angel of death would pass over. And so, yeah, it's just a really wonderful reminder of that story. And so now, like, I imagine that if I were to go through the book of Exodus cover to cover, that might just really enrich my faith overall, since I'm very familiar with the New Testament story of Jesus and what he did for us. But like, to see those allusions like firsthand, like going through the entire book, I think that'll just be like a really nice experience overall. And the other thing I thought was kind of intriguing that Pastor Jim brought up is how the book of Exodus is not explicitly historical, but has theological significance, or it's the God's chosen people faith story. And I really like that he mentioned that, because it's really similar to how he mentioned in one of his other sermons. I think it was the Masterpiece series, where he was talking about the census and how that also was a theological story and had significance in that way, but did like have glimpses of history, or like significance of history in different ways. But overall, it's the theological and faith like enriching that is the important thing. So I'm glad that Pastor Jim brought that up. But yeah, overall, I'm just very pleased by this this sermon series, and I'm really looking forward to continuing with it. And now I feel so encouraged to go through the Old Testament, particularly the Torah, and just go through all those books, because I had never gone cover to cover on these books. And now it's just like a really amazing way that I can bring forth my faith in more of a growing way than before, and a different kind of growing way, which is awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love that, Tim.
Thank you.
Yeah. Beth, did you have anything to kind of add to that?
Well, I watched the sermon really, really fast. But as we're talking now, I'm realizing that although I did watch the service, I didn't retain a lot of it, which is
totally normal. Which is why I love that he provides sermon notes.
So I'm in the sermon notes right now.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. And I really liked what he says about chapters 15 through 18, which describes a lot of grumbling by the people.
Yeah.
When they complained about food, God sent manna from heaven. When they complained about having no water, God instructed Moses to strike a rock where water poured out for them. At each instance, God provided for the people despite their ingratitude.
Yeah.
I felt that a little bit because I've been feeling really angry lately about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel I'm yelling at God and like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Right.
Which is good that you feel that and that you are expressing that to him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the place for it to go. So
yeah, and that reminds me of the Psalms. I think that you have that. You have those prayers from some of God's followers, and they're angry about something. They bring it forth to God. So that's great, Beth.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so keep up the anger.
Okay. But we're gonna provide even when we're mad. And that was encouraging because because I know my reaction when someone is mad at me is like, oh yeah, well now I'm gonna be double mad at you because you're mad at me. And so God has more emotional intelligence than I do, so he's probably fine. We're good. It'll be fine. Everything.
That's actually a really good point, Beth. Yeah, it's like we bring forth our anger to God, or like we think something is so unfair, and honestly, it seems ridiculous to us, but God is always faithful, and he'll actually like provide despite all of that we bring forth to him. That is generally, like, if we brought that to another human being, like you said, like they might think it's unpleasant, but in God's eyes, it's like he sees us as his children, and like we're still beautiful in his eyes. So that's really that's nice.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking that, like, one, I guess, positive that all this anger has produced is it has made me talk to God more. Like, okay, God,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do about this? How are you gonna get us through this? Specifically me, but also everybody else.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and I think it's one of those things where, like, people don't realize that's the safest place to bring your frustrations, because, and I say this, and I know I'm like totally guilty of doing this, and there are certain people who can handle us in these moments, but like we'll like vent to people, and we're like overwhelmed and frustrated, and there's certain people that we don't know what they're going through.
Oh, wow.
And so for us to like kind of put this on them, they're like, they want to be able to help, but they can't, so it's almost like you're doing the right thing, and it's okay to do that. And I think that's great that you've been talking to him more.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, that's actually extremely inspirational to me, because I think that when I pray, I do have heartfelt prayers and all, especially in my spiritual journey. But I think that I really could try to be more expressive with my emotions in that kind of way, Beth. I think that like really bringing it all to God, like even like if something seems unfair, or something seems like it's so ridiculous and just hard for me, like just bring it all to God, not like, and just what is it? It reminds me of what Jesus says about how God knows what we will ask him before we ask it. So like we don't have to go through these repetitions or anything like that. We could just like bring it all. And so that means it doesn't have to follow a certain kind of structure, which means that we can really bring all of our emotions to him. And then that ends up like really providing a much more transformational experience for us. So yeah, that's awesome, Beth, that you're doing that. Wow.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
Jessica, do you have any more?
Yeah, Jessica, do you have any stuff?
Kind of to go off of that, one of the last things that Pastor Jim mentioned in the sermon was, Exodus and all this, it's the story of God's deliverance, a truth that still happens today. Said liberation from oppression, the hope for freedom against seemingly invincible tyrants, the call to a life of holiness, God's presence with us amidst uncertain times, and the vision of an ideal future. God still hears the cries of his people. God's presence leads, protects, and transforms us. And God is the ultimate covenant promise keeper. And so that is so reassuring when you think about crappy situations, hard times, feeling like you or your community is being oppressed, feeling like your freedom isn't really free, feeling like you are against seemingly invincible tyrants. It doesn't matter where in history things occur. It always can play out at some point.
Yeah.
And we feel these things more now. Maybe we felt these things previously in our lives, but at the end of the day, I think it's the most important thing that God still hears the cries of his people, and he is the ultimate promise keeper. He is going to take care of us. So I think that's the most reassuring thing and message to get from the book of Exodus and what Pastor Jim was wanting to share with us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's beautiful, Jessica. And yeah, that basically God welcomes us with open arms, and he delivers us from oppression and delivers us from bad situations. And like he's the light at the end of the tunnel. And just like Jesus says about take my yoke and I will give you rest. It's like all of this stuff. It's like we find peace and solace and a refuge. It kind of reminds me of the Psalms. I think it was how I think it might have been David that said that God is his shield, horn of my salvation, my stronghold. And that really is the case. And so, yeah, Exodus is like a very excellent reminder of that we will have deliverance from these unlucky or just extremely problematic scenarios or times of significant trouble. That's great. So
deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
Yes.
Amen.
Wow. That's awesome.
Did you guys grow up did you guys pray the Lord's Prayer?
No, actually, it only started when I went to Palmdale United Methodist Church. Actually,
okay,
I learned it when I was a kid.
Yeah, I remember that's what my mom. We would pray that before bed, like, and it's interesting because if you think about it, the words of it, it's something I definitely want to instill in our kid is.
Yeah.
I can't talk. I'll still pray over them that every night. I think I'm really
that's such a wonderful thing, Jessica. If you and Amber are able to do that, I think that would be like an enriching kind of faith experience for your new family member. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Lord's Prayer, though, this might be a question for Pastor Jim. He can answer an email or we could just figure it out at some point. But I think it's really fascinating how we have the Lord's Prayer in the particular way that we say it at the United Methodist Church, because in the New Revised Standard version, it's in different language, and then some other translations it's in different language. So I think that's where falling into the Wesleyan quadrilateral again. I think that's where the tradition comes into play. Like we say the Lord's Prayer in a particular way at the United Methodist Church because of that tradition. Yet our translations will have different words for the Lord's Prayer. I think that's pretty cool. So I'm kind of curious what that answer is, but probably it's just the following of tradition and how rich that is and how helpful that can be. But
cool.
Yeah.
Man, we learned a lot about Exodus. And I do that he's able within like one sermon, he's like, let me sum this up for you. Because I'm like, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. It's almost like what is it? They have the notes. When you're in college courses or whatever, you got like the notes for a particular chapter. Yeah, like the Spark Notes or Cliff Notes or whatever name brand kind of notes. So that's kind of what Pastor Jim is giving us here with this sermon series. So he's just making it so much like super accessible for us to like go in there, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, or like go into the Torah and just like be like children of God and just like go in with a fresh experience like we've never read it before. And maybe we haven't read it before, but it's just been real accessible now. So I'm looking forward to how the series continues to play out for sure.
I am interested how he's going to cover Leviticus. I'll be honest. Leviticus is quite the book, y'all. So,
oh wow,
I am eager to, we'll report back next week on that one. But
yeah, for sure, awesome,
cool. Well, do you guys have some prayer requests for from now until next week?
I think I'd like to have a prayer request for Don and his family. I know that they recently had a memorial service for Don's father, so I think that maybe he and his family could use prayers. I know that that's an extremely troubling circumstance, and so then I guess a prayer for me to get over this like unusual problem with my hand and having this like sore, and like it's kind of hard because I'm on the computer like so often, and like so now I kind of like can't rest my wrist on the desk. I kind of have to like levitate my hands on the keys and the mouse.
You
so that I don't
at work, Tim?
Yeah. I levitate at work.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but needless to say, it's kind of an unusual or potentially uncomfortable circumstance. So a prayer for me to not have to levitate anymore, or or just to get over this thing, and maybe a combination of the bag balm and bandages. I'll be able to get over it sooner rather than later. But some prayers on that would be helpful.
We shall pray for you, but I also think that it's amazing that you're levitating. So
first that you can figure out how to make the rest of your body levitate.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm going to totally disregard what you asked for us to pray for, and I'm just going to pray for the thing I said.
Oh, okay. I respect that.
No, I reject that prayer. Different prayer. No. I'm class about that prayer, Tim. I would like a prayer for everything, but also I have to write some hard emails tonight advocating for my own mental health and self-care.
Yeah.
100%.
I have to do that. That's all I'm going to say, I guess. Okay. What else?
For sure.
So we got a kitten last year. No.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
I remember that. It was such a cool story.
I was so excited. I was like, "You got a kitten!" Anyway.
Yeah. Got a kitten last year, and a year goes by really fast, and it occurred to hi, Freddie.
There's Jessica's kitty.
So it occurred to me, like, I don't know, a few weeks ago, like, oh no, we got the cat almost a year ago. That means she's almost reached, the time where I should have spayed her before she reached her, maximum potential.
Maximum potential.
I have an appointment for her, but it's not until next month. And she currently is in heat right now. And just prayers for everybody who has to deal with it. I'm not worried about her getting pregnant because she stays upstairs and female cats and everybody's taken care of. And we do have a dog door downstairs, but we can put that, close it at night. So I'm not worried about her, getting pregnant, but.
Oh, okay. Is she doing like the loud meowing thing?
Oh, yeah, she sure is.
Okay.
Our goat is in heat right now. She does that. She walk outside and she's like, "Meh," and she just kind of like yells at you. And then she'll eat her, we'll feed the goats the mornings and the evenings, and she'll do that while she's eating. She's like, It's like, oh my gosh. So
that's probably more annoying than a cat being in heat. Way louder.
Well, not really, because the goat is outside. You have the cat inside.
That's true. Yeah. So we'll get through it.
You will.
Bob Barker, I didn't spay her in time, but I will do it.
That's okay. That's a year. I mean, that's fine.
It's just my internalized grief about everything. It's fine.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Also prayers that I stop internalizing all of this grief and
yes.
about
for sure.
all the things that I have perceived to be my fault.
I think I struggle with that too, Beth. I have a tendency to blame myself for everything and anything. So yeah, I think maybe I can receive a prayer on that as well.
Hey, Tim,
what
if I just blame everything on you and you blame everything on me? Not blaming it on ourselves. Yeah.
And then when I'm around you guys, I'll go, Tim's fault.
I guess I'm supposed to do it the other way. I see you, Jessica, and I'm like, that's Beth's fault, I think.
Yeah. For sure.
What about you, Jessica? Do you have anyone you want to blame your problems on?
My cats.
Oh, your cat.
Well, Willie.
I think my prayer is as I'm going towards the end of this pregnancy journey, which feels like forever. I still have 7, probably like 6.5 weeks left, 7 weeks, whatever. But I think just prayers for like my emotional and mental well-being, because there's so many hormones that my body has right now. And there's just so much happening in general, like even physically. Waddling. Anyway.
Yeah, and you were saying about rolling out of bed, not being.
Yeah. It's crazy because like I the way that I normally like fill my cup is I love doing like physical activity things, like things where I'm able to like lift stuff. And like, I mean, we have a tiny farm, I love being able to do things. And just finding I'm limited in a lot of that. And so I'm having a hard time figuring out how to fill my cup in that way. That's definitely been the biggest adjustment for me. But in the meantime, Amber's getting ripped, being able to like lift our 50-pound feed bags.
Whoa.
But anyway, so I think just, prayers for my, all parts of my well-being, just like physical, mental, and emotional well-being.
For sure.
Towards the end of this pregnancy.
Yeah, that sounds good, Jessica. And I also think maybe you could use a prayer to find a way to fill your cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. What?
You tried using a pitcher?
I'll get a camera and take some pictures.
Because it lasts longer. That's a good idea.
It lasts longer for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway. Actually, that reminds me of communion, how Pastor Jim will like pour the wine, or in this case, we use the grape juice here at United Methodist Church, Palmdale. He pours it into the other cup, and I always find that really therapeutic and relaxing to see
He's
that.
So good at it. And he breaks the bread so perfectly even on both sides. He practiced that a lot, because when Pastor John started doing it, I felt a little sad for him. Sorry, Pastor John, if you're listening. And he would just be like the bottom corner or whatever.
Or he'd like struggle, and you could tell he was like,
and you could see him trying to hold back the tears.
Yeah. I'll be honest, when he pours the grape juice into the cup, every time, I'm not kidding, I get so anxious because I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't spill it. Please don't drop it. And then when he sets it down, I'm like, please don't break because it looks so breakable.
Yeah.
Anyway, I get so nervous every time.
I can actually relate to Pastor John's experience, whether or not he has trouble up there on the stage, because during the 11 o'clock service, I struggle so much lighting those candles. Like I would say like maybe 50% of the time I can light the candle the first time. Like when I do the matches, usually what happens is the first match is unsuccessful in lighting the candle, and I have to throw it in the water before it becomes a potential problem. And then I light another match and I'm like, okay, there we go. I was able to light the candle, but sometimes the second match doesn't even do it. And so either I go for a third match or I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go for somebody else's candle and have a good.
I usually just go for somebody else's candle. Like the first, unless you're the first one to light a candle, then I don't know what to do.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. So you can relate to me on that, Beth. That's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can use some training on candle lighting.
Pastor Jim can include that in PUMC 101.
I think so, yeah.
Or maybe you take PUMC 101 and then PUMC 102 involves the candle lighting.
Oh, okay. Excellent. That's good to know. I'll make sure to sign up for PUMC 102.
Yeah, you have to pass 101 first.
Right.
Yeah. Or you could, at the very least, maybe test out of it. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask. I'll get back to
you. There's a separate candle test. It's a supplemental test that you can take so that you don't have to do the candle portion in 102.
Like a candle in the wind. Yep.
Yeah, so that was quite the digression, with candles, but they are very sacred and special. So I think it was a good digression.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Well, guys, with that being said,
stay mad, you Methodists.
Stay mad, you Methodists.
Stay mad,
different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness.